And it is a Sunday, 2nd June 2024. Mo kí gbogbo wa káàkiri gbogbo ibi tí ẹ bá tútù láǹfààní àti darapọ̀ mọ́ wa ní our Sunday lecture and our Sunday campaign to self-determination under the leadership of Professor Adebanji Akintoye. Well, nobody wants war, and that is the reason why we are calling for a peaceful dissolution of Nigeria for the interest of everyone, and that is why the Yoruba self-determination under the leadership of Professor Adebanji Akintoye will remain peaceful, and we hope that President Bola Tinubu would in the next 13 days find it in his heart to negotiate why Yoruba people should exit Nigeria. Nigeria was never created by us. Nigeria was created by the British in 1914, and whatever we are doing today is to say that we don't want to be part of what the British created in 1914. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI, popularly known as Koikimedia on the social media where you can follow us. Remember that my platform is shadow banned. That means that some of you might not get notification when I'm live. So you need to follow us on all the platforms that we are streaming from. You need to follow us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on the YouTube and the YouTube backup channel. Every details is spelled Koikimedia. Kilo Oscar Indigo Kilo Indigo Mike Echo Delta Indigo Alpha. That is how you spell Koikimedia, and you will find all the videos I've done in the last 4 years throughout this campaign, and why and every reason why the fraudulent amalgamation expired in 2014. Jonathan said it, everybody said it, even the current president Bola Tinubu, some about less than 10 years ago, stated clearly that he doesn't believe in one Nigeria. So under the leadership of Professor Adebanji Akintoye, a letter has been sent to President Tinubu. The 15th of June is when we have told him to acknowledge that letter and let us facilitate how the Yoruba can exit Nigeria. So sit back and let us enjoy this afternoon program, and we're dealing with the last part. And this is Professor Banji speaking.
I see that maybe perhaps the generality of the people do not feel as passionate about self-determination. And secondly, there is all kinds of positions. Afenifere is talking about restructuring. You are talking about self-determination.
You don't know this. You don't know the nature of the Yoruba society. You don't. Most of the young people, and they are the majority in Yoruba land, want the self-determination of their Yoruba nation. That's the truth of the matter. That's what is keeping the movement going. And they are also doing so in the diaspora. Yoruba young men and women all over the world want their own country, separate from Nigeria. You cannot deny that. No matter how much you want to pander to the government, you cannot deny that. That's the truth.
Anyway.
The important thing, however, and I'm surprised that you are not talking about that, is that the Yoruba people who are fighting for self-determination are telling the world and telling themselves that they will do it only peacefully. We are Yoruba. We know our status in the world. We know our status in the black world. We do not want to destroy the peace of Nigeria, and we do not want to bring difficulty into the lives of any other group in Nigeria. But we want to get out of Nigeria. That's it.
Well, Prof, you are a strong member.
I'm not talking about that. You are asking me questions. You are asking me questions as if what Onitiri did has the support of the majority of Yoruba people who want self-determination. It is not true.
Well, Prof,
he has a small minority of a section that is ready to do illegalities. A year ago, they went and attacked a radio station in Ibadan, and so on. Now this year, they are attacking the entire government of Ibadan. and so on. No, but we have never sent anybody to go and do that, and we do not support it or encourage it.
Prof.
And we think it is criminal.
Prof,
and so if they get punished for their criminality, we have no objection to that.
Prof, you are a strong
But you
member.
cannot, because of them, generalize opposition to self-determination. You cannot.
Well, Prof, you are a strong member of the Unity Party of Nigeria, also a very strong member of Afenifere. Afenifere is talking about restructuring. You are now talking about self-determination. What is the difference, in these two ideological positions?
Our fathers in Afenifere are doing the right thing, talking about restructuring, so that we can go back and live our own life the way we used to live it prosperously. They're doing the right thing. There is nothing wrong with that. But we, another group of people, larger in number than they, are now saying, no, self-determination is the answer, not restructuring. Why? Because when you restructure, you are still in Nigeria. And the people who are coming and disrupting your life and destroying your farms and killing your women and raping your mothers and daughters and so on are still Nigerians. They still have a right to come to Nigeria. The only final solution to that is to separate, so that you have a separate Yoruba country where we can make our own laws and so on, to which we admit only people we want to admit. So nobody can claim that they have a right to come to our land. They don't have such a. But as long as we are in Nigeria, no matter what restructuring is done, they still have the right to come to our land and do the things that we are doing. Nobody is talking about the fact that most Yoruba farmers have been driven from their farms. I am not hearing that. I'm hearing only about government. I'm not hearing about people. You are not talking about the fact that most Yoruba farmers have been driven from their farms, and that the Yoruba nation is in danger of famine upon famine upon famine for years and years to come. You are not talking of the fact that the Fulani declared war on Nigeria on the 24th of January and 26th of January and said that Tinubu is not our president. We are going to Aso Rock. We will take over the seat of government there, and we will use this place to organize the conquest of the rest of Nigeria. You're not talking about that. You are not talking of people who said, no Fulani man must be arrested for the bomb in Ibadan. If you do, you will have bombs in every town in Yoruba, in Nigeria. Nobody is talking about that. Nobody is talking about the sheer insult of living in a country where some people are treating the government like that. They are talking about Onitiri and so on. Why do our...
Well, Prof, let me ask you this. Self-determination that you recommend.
You are entitled to your opinion. You are entitled to your opinion, but what I'm saying is that your opinion rigorously avoids the truth. Rigorously.
But Prof,
avoids the truth.
Nigeria, as Onigo Chite told us in his research on ethnic nationalities in Nigeria, has over 300 ethnic nationalities. Will you recommend self-determination to all the other ethnic nationalities in Nigeria? For all these nationalities to break?
Those who want it don't ask me a general question. I am asking for self-determination for a nation, the Yoruba nation. There are about 60 million people in Nigeria, and their territory is large enough to be a large country. So that's what I'm talking about. Any other nationality in Nigeria that wants self-determination is free to ask for it. I cannot come and ask for self-determination for nations that are not mine. No.
Well, Prof, as we have this...
And you've listened to Professor Adebanji Akitoye. Mo kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa tí ẹ tún darapọ̀ mọ́ wa ní ọjọ́ kejì nínú oṣù kẹfà ọdún 2024 níbi tí a ti ń fi ètò tí a fi ń ṣe àpèjúwe àti ìsọ̀rọ̀ fún àwọn èèyàn wa nílé àti gbogbo ẹ̀yin tí ẹ wà ní ìta. Mo ń bẹ gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ wa tí ẹ ń bẹ nílé, gbogbo ẹ̀yin olólùfẹ́ Yorùbá Nation, ẹ̀yin tí ẹ ti gbàgbọ́ pé Yorùbá Nation ní àbáyọ, ní ọ̀nà àbáyọ. Bó ṣe wù yín ni pé ká wọnú ìgboro, ká da gbogbo ẹ̀rú, ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń bà nǹkan jẹ́. Bàbá wa Olóyè Ìgbòho àti bàbá wa Professor Adébánjí Akíntóyè, wọ́n ní ọ̀nà tá a máa gbà kọ́ nìyẹn. Wọ́n ní gbogbo ọ̀nà tá a máa gbà, tá a máa fi lọ ni pé a máa tẹ Nàìjíríà pé kó accept pé Yorùbá fẹ́ lọ. Ìyẹn ni a ṣe gbé lẹ́tà dìde tí ó ti kọ sí President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the current President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I understand gbogbo yín pè pé kí a tún jáde kí a bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí polongo Yorùbá Nation. That definitely I totally agree with. Audio tí mo fẹ́ play is just to let our people know at home that ẹ máa wà a little bit patient, nítorí pé kò ń ṣe pé a fẹ́ dàlúrú la ṣe fẹ́ jáde. Gbogbo bàtà bá máa jáde fún Yorùbá Nation rally tí mo mọ̀ pé kò ní pẹ́ mọ́, láìpẹ́ láì jìnnà lágbára Elédùmarè táwọn bàbá wa máa ṣe announcement ẹ̀ nígbà kásìkò bá tó. Mo sọ pé ká jáde ní rally ká wá lọ dàlúrú, no, a máa fi ọkàn wa sí pé a fẹ́ gba Yorùbá Nation, a fẹ́ dá dúró. So audio tí mo fẹ́ play is just to say to our people that a lot of our youth at home, they are angry, they are upset, they are in pain, especially with the collapse of the Nigerian economy, especially because Nigeria is not giving them the hope. Kò ń ṣe gbogbo èèyàn ló lè lọ sí abroad, kódà kò ń ṣe gbogbo èèyàn ló lè lọ sí African countries. Not as many Yoruba people can even travel to Benin Republic. So this audio is nothing just to say that, yes, gbogbo pé a máa jáde fún rally. I totally believe and agree with that. Even here in UK, ní agbára Ọlọ́run, ní inshallah, lágbára Jésù Kristi, láṣẹ Èdùmàrè, Olóyè Ìgbòho will be in UK in October, and there will be rally, and there will be also dinner, and we will also be having a lot of engagement throughout the period that he will be in UK with us in October. The announcement will be coming out properly. But in Nigeria, yes, I expect that as soon as our leaders, our fathers that are guiding us on this movement tell us that we are coming out, we will be out on the street. And I can assure you that if there is every reason, I will be on the ground to support that rally. I will not sit back in UK. I will be traveling down to Nigeria to support that rally. There's no doubt about it in my mind. I have been there before in 2021. I was there throughout most of the rallies, whether the big one in Ekiti State, whether the smaller one. So nígbà tígbà tó bá ti sọ pé rally ti dé, it is our right. And ìyẹn mo fẹ́ ká dìmú. There is no security agency that would attack or kidnap or arrest us when that time comes. And that is why we have been pushing to say that even through our Buhari, we said it clearly that it will be a peaceful and it will remain so under President Bola Tinubu. So gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ wa tẹ́ wà nílé, I can feel your energy and your pain. I know that you want to come out. I will not be the one to give the order. The order will come from the leader. We have one leader. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin tí ẹ bá gbà fún Olóyè Ìgbòho àti Bàbá Akíntóyè àti Ọ̀túnba Adémọ́lá, you would have to listen to them. If you do not listen to them, you will be on your own, just like àwọn tó tẹ̀lé Dúpọ̀ Onítìrí lọ. There is no amount of what you want to do. You would have to wait for that call from our leader that a máa jáde nígbà báyìí lásìkò báyìí. Even we still have the right, if Tinubu refuse to communicate with us on the 15th of June, a sì ní gbogbo right láti tún kọ lẹ́tà sí ká tún dúró díẹ̀ sí. I understand that most of you feel like we should be out on the street right now. And when we come out on the street, we will not attack any security operatives. We will not destroy anything. But we will be out there demanding our right, just like the Scottish people are doing, just like the Welsh people are doing. I understand the pain tó wà lọ́kàn yín, and I will be there with you, like I say. Oloye will be there with you. Professor Banji Akintoye will stand with you. And millions of Yoruba people around the world are standing with you. But ẹ máa ṣe sùúrù ni. It is a fact that we will be out for rally, but you are not coming out for rally to make any destruction of any properties. I don't want to make that clear. Yes, I know that many of us believe that a movement like this can end up into many places, but the negotiation, let us exhaust it. Let us push for the negotiation as much as we can. And if all the negotiation fail, there will be other options that can be put on the table. But for now, there is a negotiation going on, and that negotiation will be respected as long as you believe in Baba Akintoye and as long as you believe in Sunday Igboho. Sunday Igboho, you have the right to go and set up your own movement. We have many platforms and many people that are not in support of Baba Akintoye. You can also go and join them. You even have the right to go and set up your own. But tó bá ti gbà pé lábẹ́ Baba Akintoye ló máa wà, lábẹ́ Igboho ló máa wà, lábẹ́ àwọn Yorùbá self-determination movement, you will not go beyond whatever they've asked you to do. And the next audio is just to say to you, these are the kind of messages that I'm getting on a daily basis by our people at home. And this is why we are saying to the presidency and President Bola Tinubu, you must sit back and understand that we are no longer in the military era. We are in democracy and we are not terrorists. Kì í ṣe terrorists. We have the right to self-determination. You will respect that. Ìwọ náà sọ nígbà tó wà ní exile that you do not believe in Nigeria. Whatever reason why you believe in Nigeria is not our own problem. But you will sit back and negotiate with us. And if you fail to negotiate with us, we will rewrite another letter if we have to. But like I said, the next audio is just many of the audios that I receive on a daily basis by those at home. And after that audio, I will play the anthem.
Koiki ẹ̀yà mọ̀ láti ṣe báyìí oṣù wa ọmọ ipop ṣe ń dagbó ẹ̀rú àwọn Biafra kéré àwọn rìlẹ́ǹtì àwọn tí ń rìlẹ́ǹtì kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ wọ́n lè láìkí live program ẹ̀ ṣe ní àná ẹ̀rí àjẹkálẹ̀ ni ó tún jíjà àwọn èèyàn Koiki ẹ̀yìn lè gbáwọn èèyàn débẹ̀ o ẹ bá ń gbọ́ fún yín o ẹ̀yìn lè gbáwọn èèyàn débẹ̀ o àlá ẹ̀jẹ̀ bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ lórí rally padà ajé from rally ó máa dúdú kásálà adúlé kàlá tún bọ́ọ̀sì alákọ̀ọ́yọ̀ Nàìjíríà lọ́wọ́ yìí Koiki ẹ̀rọ ìgbọ́rọ̀ fún yìí o tìrálì bá ó rí asán yẹn fẹ́ jáde tán o ẹbí ti fẹ́ pa àwọn yẹn ti ń kú ebi ti ń pa àwọn yẹn o ti sọ anybody ara ń ná àwọn èèyàn kò sí kankan ebi ń pọ̀ Koiki ajé ẹgbẹ́ ẹlẹ́tí lè jíjà mọ́ra àwọn èèyàn ẹgbẹ́ ká wò tán yorí tí olórí burúkú tó wà bá àkọ́jẹ́ yẹn ọjà tó jáde lógúnlógún lọ́gbọ̀dọ̀ gbọ̀n ẹgbẹ́ kọ́ ọ̀gánáìsì rálì from rálì àdúgbò kàlà tó máa kọlu rárá lọ́tún ló ti kọlu rárá lọ́sì àbẹ̀rẹ̀ rìlẹ́ǹsì báyìí ká kó máa dúró de pé gbòòrò nìkan ká máa dúró de gbòòrò nìkan ẹgbẹ́ ẹ̀ náà sàmẹ́ pa ní ọbì tó wà ní Finland ó ń dìlífà lé ẹgbọ́n ẹ̀ máa dìlífà lé náà ẹ̀ mọ́ ni ẹ̀ máa dìlífà lé eléyìí sú wa èmi ló kọ́ family ayé àwọn èmi ló kọ́ ti bàjẹ́ sí Nàìjíríà lọ́wọ́ ibi tí fẹ́ pa àwọn èmi ló kọ́ pé ẹ̀ fẹ́ pa wọn kú ni gbogbo ọ̀tá sọ fẹ́ bá dìbò ọ̀gbọ̀n èmi ti yọjú wọn báyìí o èmi gbogbo máa ń gí àti ìfẹ́ dáwà ní àlùbọ́sà lọ fún ọ àjò ṣe dá padà bó Tinubu ṣe á dá padà o àjò ẹgbẹ́ mẹ́ka tó gbẹ mẹ́ka gbọ́ ara ń kọ́ àwọn èèyàn ara ń kọ́ gáàsì àwọn èèyàn ó sọ ẹnìbọ̀dì o ọ̀gbìn Koiki ẹni fọyàn ní mọ́ra o ẹni fọyàn situation fọyàn mọ́ra ká bọ́ sọ̀fù báyìí kúrò fún ẹgbẹ́ ó sọ ẹnìbọ̀dì o Tinubu fẹ́ pẹ́ ẹnìbọ̀dì Nàìjíríà o Tinubu fẹ́ pẹ́ ẹnìbọ̀dì o fẹ́ pẹ́ ẹnìbọ̀dì ẹgbẹ́ o ẹ̀ka tún máa fà á lè bẹ̀rẹ̀ rally for rally wọ́n yẹ Tinubu kò ní ọ̀kan ṣe assurance wà pé 4 years tó ìwọ̀nba 3 years tó kù gan-an náà tì ní ṣàtúwádìí 2017 àbálẹ̀ pé àtúmọ̀ wí story ni ẹlòmíì ò ti ẹ̀rọ orí ara Koiki pé ìwọ tó ti wà lẹ́jọ́ 50 years 8 years Tinubu báwo lè fẹ́ dì ó ti wà lẹ́jọ́ 40 years 8 years Tinubu ṣé wọn kò ti darúgbó Nàìjíríà pé ṣe ló sọ wọn darúgbó kò sí ẹ̀kọ́ sọ gbogbo tó bí ṣọwọ́ gan-an iṣẹ́ wo lọ iṣẹ́ oṣù ò lọ security ò sí gbogbo ẹ̀ ti díwèrè ẹgbẹ́ mẹ́ta gbọ́ ẹgbẹ́ tó jíjà àwọn èèyàn ẹgbẹ́ lè fún èèyàn solution gbá ẹ̀ tó máa fi jí ẹ̀ tó jíjà àwọn èèyàn ẹ̀ kàn dáwọ́ máa dá Koiki àwọn tó máa dá ẹ máa ro gbogbo àwọn tó ń bèèrè tó kàn dẹ́mu ẹ kọ́ máa dáwọ́ olè ní wọn àwọn tó máa dá ẹ̀gbọ́n ẹ ká lóye ilẹ̀ pósà ká lóye sì sí àlì ẹ máa kó akọ ní máa kùn ní ẹjọ́ rò pé lóbi máa tó àgbéyànjú tiwa kò ní sí Nàìjíríà bá gbéyànjú Koiki ẹ máa kó akọ ní máa kùn ní a lè dúró báyìí kákọ̀ wà Nàìjíríà kákọ̀ kù sí ibi ká kú síyà kí generation ọmọ tó ń bọ̀ náà kó fi kú síyà ẹ̀gbọ́n ẹ̀ka bọ́ọ̀dì ẹ̀ka jáde ká tó súnmọ́ra wa ká tó túnra dì ká tó túnra dì ẹ̀gbọ́n ká tó túnra dì ká jẹ mú ká jẹ bíbọ̀ ká jáde ká jẹ owó ẹ̀ tó gbẹ̀jú àlè dúró báyìí ẹ̀gbọ́n mo tún dogun kó di kàsálà ká bọ́ sọ̀fọ̀ ṣé àtúwárí 2007 àtúwárí agbára dá sórí ní Koiki.
lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí i mo kí gbogbo èèyàn ọmọ wa tẹ́ wà nílé ẹ̀yin tẹ́ gbà fún Yorùbá nation tẹ́ dúró ẹ túbọ̀ ṣe sùúrù díẹ̀ sí i. Like I said, when the Yoruba rally starts in Yoruba land, I will travel down to Nigeria. It is my right to come and represent Yoruba people on that rally trail. I will be coming. Igboho will be there. We will all be there. Kò sí nǹkan tó lè ṣẹlẹ̀. Right wa là ń béèrè. The campaign for their politicians, they go out and campaign. Nobody gets attacked. We have seen it. But when that time comes, we will then know. But for now, gbogbo yín ẹ máa lọ ṣe sùúrù díẹ̀ sí. Yes, I believe that we should be putting out as much leaflet. Ìyẹn la ṣe ní ẹ lọ máa dáwó 10 ọ̀rànmíyàn mẹ́wàá. Everybody 10 naira. Even if you don't believe in Yoruba nation, it will save the conscious awareness to keep our people alive. Because 29,000 Yoruba people was killed by President Muhammadu Buhari and Yemi Osinbajo when they were in office through the invasion. And let me read this out. Part of the campaign trail of the Labour Party in United Kingdom, according to the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, said, and I quote, he has pledged to cut the levels of the net migration to the UK. In tó sọ ni pé àwọn ní allow many people in the UK when Labour becomes the party that will control the government on behalf of the king, because that is the way the process runs in the UK. So kí ló dé táwọn wá allow as much migration into Yoruba land that we can no longer live in peace. If the Labour Party on July 4th is making it on their manifesto that they will cut the levels of the net migration, kí ló ń pè ní migration? People that want to travel to UK from all over the world. Why then have we left Yoruba land to become a dumping place for all kind of animals and different people that are creating menace in our land? They are putting as much pressure on the resources that is not enough for the Yoruba people. And this is the reason why we are saying, APC did not and could not stop the migration of the Fulani jihadists into our territory. And we are not terrorists. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. And we will use this platform to enlighten, to wake up the spirit and the minds of millions of Yoruba people to ask for one reason to get out of Nigeria, because our identity was stolen in 1914. And we need that identity back so that we can be able to cut net migration in Yoruba land. And once we create a menace, we will chuck them out. Just like the UK is moving people from here to Rwanda. Why is UK moving people out of this country, out to Rwanda? We will take those that we don't want to be in Yoruba land. We will remove you. But we cannot do that when Tinubu is the president as Nigeria. We can only do that when we have our own independent Yoruba nation. And I don't want to curse you because I love my mom so much. She has pleaded with me. Let's listen to the anthem. Sit back and let's enjoy the final part of the part 2 of the goodwill to prosperity of the Yoruba people. The only thing you can do is share the program. I have not asked you to donate. Share the program and invite many people to come and listen to the reason why Yoruba people now must cut the net migration into Southwest, known as Yoruba land today. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. Let's listen to the anthem and we go straight to goodwill, prosperity for the Yoruba people to become an independent country. Ìgbàgbọ́ wa ní pé láti bẹ̀rù làwọn mọ́ ká ṣiṣẹ́ ká jọlá ìṣọ̀kan àtòmìnira. jẹ́ ká máa lè pa wá síwájú àgọ́ tó dára ọmọ Olúwa dìde lọ sí ipò ẹ̀tọ́ rẹ ìwọ ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ gbogbo adúláwọ̀ àwa ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ gbogbo adúláwọ̀. The rally will be louder than this when it comes back out again. Lágbára Ọlọ́run, lágbára Jésù Kristi, ẹ ṣáà ṣe sùúrù díẹ̀ sí i. And I welcome you to the transmission. Orúkọ mi ni OLAYOMI KOIKI as we kickstart this afternoon and the final part of the discussion that we started on a great note that will end today because we have another topic to treat from tomorrow or this coming week, lágbára Ọlọ́run. So if you have not been following the program, you will probably not get the message that we are discussing fully. I am going to read the letter one more time. The official letter that was sent to President Bola Tinubu that should be acknowledged, because if you send a letter to the government, even anywhere around the world, you are likely at least to get either a proper official letter or you might get what we called, a template, which would mean that the government, the collector seeing, respect that purpose of the letter and they will reply you. Taba collector see UK government, you will get at least a communication back from the UK government and the American government and government around the world. We are not in the military era. We are currently in the civilian democracy. It might not be perfect, it might not have worked, and we don't hope it's going to work anyway. And these are one reasons and many reasons that I will not start mentioning names of those of you in the platform because it will take us away quickly from the discussion. But happy Sunday. What God cannot do does not exist. I listened to Prophet Mayowa and I hope I will be able to play that slight clip. I am not here to sell Christianity or Islam or tradition of Yoruba to you. I am here to sell self-determination. The right of the Yoruba people, the future of the Yoruba people, regardless of your belief in the current dispensation of the APC, which you have the right, because Nigeria is still a country until it winds down and everybody go their separate ways. We are not terrorists. We are campaigners just like any other country around the world. My views, my utterances might not be in favor to you, just as APC and PDP have never favored you anyway. But at least this one is giving you alternative to the current failure of a country called Nigeria that the British knew that it was never going to work when you match people that are not the same ideology, culture. Champions League lánàá. We saw how Real Madrid won the game. Every one of you is excited, but do you know that they don't speak the same language? Hey, imagine kó gbé Spain àti Germany kó gbé wọn síra wọn kó wá ní kó jọ máa gbé. Do you think that you would even get the game that you watched yesterday? Ní many tó good láàrin wọn, ní many tó strong láàrin wọn. The GDP or no, the export of the German in 2022 was 1.4 trillion. Germany is just under 84 million population. The GDP, the export of the Spain in 2022 was almost 340 something billion US dollars. The population is less than 45 million. Ẹ wá ń sọ pé Yorùbá ò lè dá dúró káwa náà lè máa do as much export out of Yoruba land across Africa and across European countries. You will never be feeling good in Nigeria, even if you have felt good at some point. Many people are crying today because it's the failure of the British to not have respected the indigenous people from the beginning before they added 1914 amalgamation to the slave trade that was committed by many of them, including Church of England. So tó bá ń sọ pé o fẹ́ Nigeria, you are keeping what the British created, and that is what we are fighting for. We don't want to keep what the British created, because I cannot keep to say enough is enough because that country sí Louis. So this is the letter we sent to President Bola Tinubu. I want you to sit back and let's just follow it before we dive into the further part of the discussion today. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the President of Nigeria, the President Office, Aso Rock, Abuja, Federal Capital Territory. This letter was sent out on April 17, 2024. Your Excellency, we Yoruba Self-Determination Movement, leading the Yoruba Self-Determination struggle for the Yoruba sovereign state separate from Nigeria, have the honor to send to Your Excellency this important letter on behalf of many millions of Yoruba people at home and in the diaspora, in almost countries across the world. We send this letter most respectfully to Your Excellency as a follow-up to our earlier letter dated August 6, 2022, which we delivered to your predecessors, President Muhammadu Buhari, in his exacted position then as the President of Nigeria. The central message of our earlier letter to President Buhari was that we Yoruba people of southwest part of Nigeria, consisting of the Yoruba people of Ekiti State, Lagos State, Ogun State, Ondo State, Osun State, Oyo State, and the Yoruba local government areas of Kogi State and Kwara State, Ishekiri homeland of Delta State, all together, amounting to an estimated total population of 60 million, desired to exercise and assess our self-determination as an indigenous nation, and therefore to constitute our homeland in Nigeria into Yoruba sovereign state, separate from the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The second most important message in our said letter of August 6, 2022, to your predecessors, President Muhammadu Buhari, was our humble request that the government of Nigeria should authorize and facilitate peaceful, orderly negotiation with us Yoruba nation with a view of reaching with us a mutually agreed and peaceful route for our separation from Nigeria. We wrote then as follows: in conclusion, along the lines of our peaceful approach and respect for the government and the laws of Nigeria, we hereby express our wish to engage in negotiation with the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria with a view to reaching a mutual agreed and a peaceful route for the completion of our realization of our Yoruba nation's self-determination. An establishment of a Yoruba sovereign nation state, which steps we desire to accomplish as expeditiously as possible. For this purpose, we hereby propose as follows: that the Nigerian government shall within the next 2 months, but not later than October 1st, 2022, inform us that they have graciously agreed to our proposal for negotiation, and that they have set up a negotiation team that will meet and dialogue with our Yoruba nation's representatives. That as soon as we receive the communication from the Nigerian government, our negotiation team shall meet. To this request of our negotiation, we shall forward the list of negotiation delegates to the Nigerian government. That the Nigerian government negotiation team and our own negotiation teams shall meet to appoint a co-chairperson to agree on the date for the first negotiation meeting, the negotiation procedure, and the negotiation venue. That ECOWAS, the African Union, United Nations shall be invited to send observers to the negotiation meeting. To our grave disappointment, Your Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari and the Nigerian federal government have never favored our Yoruba nation with any response or even an acknowledgement to our letter dated 6th of August 2022, letter to President Muhammadu Buhari. We hereby again very respectfully send to you, Your Excellency, a copy of our August 6, 2022 letter, which we wrote to President Buhari in his position as the President of Nigeria. We assert that we stand totally and absolutely with all the points and every point that we made in that letter, and we respectfully urge you, Mr. President, to do the duty of your high position as President of Nigeria and favor us with an official response not later than the last day of May 2024. Your Excellency, in order to further enable, enrich, strengthen your understanding, consideration of our request for the separation from Nigeria, we consider it very important that we should furnish you with the following further information concerning our request. First, Your Excellency, Nigeria's economy has collapsed. Nigeria, including our Yoruba people, are living a life of wretched poverty, hunger. Important roads have dilapidated for decades. Businesses have been failing or fleeing from Nigeria, mostly from our Yoruba homeland, the home of most of Nigeria businesses before the 1960s. Almost all the businesses and industries that have blessed our Yoruba homeland and independent in 1960 have shut down. Though Nigeria is one of the largest producers of petroleum in the world, Nigeria has depended on imported gasoline and has left its own refineries in disrepair. And the price of gasoline has been rising steadily in Nigeria for years. In the past 9 months, the price of gasoline has jumped beyond the reach of most Nigerians. Important holders of acknowledge of the economy, such as the former governor of the Nigerian Central Bank, Charles Soludo, the new Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, the new National Security Advisor, Nuru Ribadu, and others are telling the world that the Nigerian economy had collapsed before President Tinubu took over from President Muhammadu Buhari. That Tinubu inherited a bankrupt country, therefore the value of the Nigerian currency, the naira, has fallen abominably, causing inflation of skyrocket and pushing the prices of the food staples beyond the reach of most citizens. In all regions of Nigeria, huge numbers of hungry people have protested in the street, crying of hunger, condemning the Nigerian government and calling for the dissolution of Nigeria. The collapse of the Nigerian economy today is the end outcome of 6 decades of perpetual, truculent twisting, distortion, corruption, degradation of Nigeria's economy and political life. Even if President Tinubu, by dint of knowledge and resoluteness, with the help of capable assistants whom he has brought into the government, succeed in healing Nigeria's economy to an extent, Nigeria's economy will certainly return to its downward trajectory after him. The forces pushing Nigeria's economy downwards include Nigeria's enormous culture of public corruption are just too powerful. There is no other country in the world about whom Nigeria's kind of story can be told. The story of a country that earned for many years of some of the largest revenues in the world from petroleum, that has continued to earn much of such revenue and has yet ended up as #1 home of extreme poverty in the world, with millions of its citizens caused by starvation, dilapidated infrastructures, failure of electricity supply, and many more. Trying to lift up Nigeria's economy sustainably is a futile venture. As you know very well, Mr. President, the collective psychology of our Yoruba people is fundamentally reverted to development, progress, prosperity, and constantly improving quality of life for all the citizens. Therefore, Your Excellency, it would amount to a betrayal of our people for us, their prominent sons and daughters, to consciously accept and continue to include our people in a country that is obviously producing economic collapse and threatening terrible devastation for all. Secondly, Mr. President, as you know very well, as the whole world knows, we Yoruba are considerably well educated. The programs of a free primary education commenced in our Yoruba homeland in 1950s and extended up to the free secondary education in 1970s. The younger sector produced the blessings that we Yoruba are very much an educated people. The younger sector of our population, our people of age 18 to 50 years of age, are the most solidly educated generation among our adult population. The same generation, 18 to 50 years of age, amount to about 70% of our total population. The same generation, 18 to 50. The main and consequence of this fact are as follows. First, our youth adults are, because of their education, very dynamic and impatient population. Our men and women of this generation unable to bear the serious depreciation of the Nigeria economy, the consequent high and escalating rate of unemployment in Nigeria since the 1990s, and the rising insecurity in Nigeria have been fleeing in ever-increasing numbers to other countries of the world for decades. Today, our estimates have it that more than 11 million members of the Yoruba generation have fled abroad, and that rate of their flight is increasing. No other nation in the world is losing population as heavily as these. The Yoruba nation in Nigeria is losing too heavy. A part of its most educated, most dynamic population is losing. Development capability is bleeding too heavily and is essentially breaking up. We Yoruba are troubled, even frightening by this trend. We strongly desire to stop it. We are sure that the only viable solution is to have a separate country of our own, a country in which we can build the national economy as competently as we are able to do, a country which we can seriously and quickly revive our people's economy, a country that can attract back our exiles from all over the world. Your Excellency, we Yoruba seriously expect to have your sympathy and cooperation, and the sympathy and the cooperation of the federal government of Nigeria in this serious and noble enterprise. Thirdly, Your Excellency, here is another important consideration that also relates to our highly educated youthful adult population. Almost all of our youthful adult people agree by now that our Yoruba nation should have its own separate country. Almost all of these Yoruba youthful adult population accept up to this point the peaceful and law-abiding approach to self-determination process that leaders of the struggle have been diligently promoting from the beginning. It is of utmost importance that the federal government of Nigeria should relate to this process and leadership. There are already signs, though only faint for now, that the educated Yoruba youthful adult in the Yoruba homeland in Nigeria and their brethren in the diaspora may become more and more radical in the struggle for the Yoruba self-determination if the federal government continues to make a mistake or make the mistake of neglecting response to the current peaceful process and the leadership of the Yoruba struggle. A seriously undesirable solution could develop among the generation of the Yoruba youthful adults, a situation that could generate much violence and could violently shred and rip Nigeria apart, cause floods of blood, and take countless lives. This message must therefore be seen by you, Your Excellency, as patriotic and humane warning to Nigeria. The serious criminal outburst that occurred in Ibadan during the weekend of April 11, 2024 needs to be carefully understood. The group which announced a takeover of the government in Ibadan on April 11 was manifestly weak and incompetent at managing their action and its aftermath. But even so, the rulers of the country ought to take it as a very important and surprising signal that the group did manage to attract itself as many educated Yoruba youths as they did. The urgency has obviously arisen from the federal government to interact with the current responsible leadership of the Yoruba self-determination struggle. Since the 1990s, various informed persons have been warning that a massive revolt by educated Yoruba youth could happen in the Yoruba homeland in Nigeria. We seem now to be coming close to such revolts. From sporadic and unconfirmed reports reaching the public about the group of April 11, some of the younger persons who were involved in that action are now telling friends and relations that the reason it was easy to deceive them into it was their vehement desire to have their Yoruba self-determination fulfilled, in which desire they were encouraged by some of their friends and brothers in the diaspora. This does not sound good for the Yoruba land and for Nigeria at all, and the Yoruba and Nigerian leaders and rulers must respond to it with serious sense of responsibility. Snippets of the news that the government is threatening fire brainstorm against all advocates of self-determination are very unhelpful, totally unhelpful. Fourthly, Mr. President, another crucial matter that we Yoruba must bring before Your Excellency is the horrific and seriously disturbing character of the attitude and utterly disrespectful approach of one of the nations of Nigeria, namely the Fulani nation, to the federal government and the sanctity, integrity, dignity, and of Nigeria's state and the public order. Since 2015, the Fulani have been killing widely among other peoples of Nigeria, including us, Yoruba, destroying farms, villages, and other assets, kidnapping men, women, and children, extorting large amounts of money as ransom from friends and family of the kidnapped, repeatedly asserting their intention to seize the homeland of all the indigenous peoples of Nigeria for the purpose of turning all into a Fulani homeland. In the Middle Belt, horrendous bloodletting is going on. Very many families have been forced into internal displaced people camps, and many of their villages have been seized by the Fulani and renamed as Fulani villages. In our Yoruba homeland, our people are resisting for what somewhat better, but the Fulani attacks and killings and kidnappings are unrelenting and coming daily, leading to horrific instability and forcing most of our farmers to abandon farming altogether, thereby dooming Yoruba people to years and years of famine. According to an unofficial estimate, the Fulani have killed as many as 29,000 Yoruba people in the years since 2015. All these actions by the Fulani are to us Yoruba a sufficient reason for our seeking to separate our Yoruba nation from Nigeria. Most of us Yoruba have no confidence in the restructuring that some of our most respectable Yoruba leaders, such as our fathers in our highly exalted Afenifere, are advocating. And our reason is that we know that restructuring cannot keep Fulani Maridoas away from our homeland, since after restructuring, the Fulani will still be Nigerians like us, and will still have full citizens' right to come in large numbers with weapons and intend to kill and destroy and seize our homeland. Their spokesperson have said again and again ambiguously that their Fulani nation has prepared all its citizens to fight their current war of subjugation, land seizure for decades and even centuries to come. We Yoruba must not underestimate the Fulani, and we must not condemn our people to Fulani killings, destructions, raping, kidnapping, extortion of ransom for decades or centuries to come. Our Yoruba nation may not survive such prolonged battering. Fifthly, Your Excellency, since your inauguration as the President of Nigeria in May 2023, the Fulani have stepped onto such a higher level of national devastation as to add mightily to our reasons for seeking to separate our Yoruba nation from Nigeria. We ask you to witness, Your Excellency, the two declarations of war by the Fulani against the President and the federal government of Nigeria against the entire Nigeria polite. First Fulani declaration of war, January 24th, 2024. In this first declaration, the Fulani demand immediate release of the leader of the Meati Allah, Bello Bodejo, who was arrested for illegally creating an armed Fulani force, which he intended to deploy to all states of Nigeria. The Fulani declaration commands, we hereby reiterated our demand for the release of Bello Bodejo. We hereby give 72 hours notice. Failure to release him, the Nigerian government will hear from us. Threatening that because the Fulani elders had failed to secure a Fulani successor or a person who would protect Fulani interests to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari in 2023, the Fulani have decided that their response is inevitable jihad. It is now obvious we have no option than to relaunch our campaign, and we have stated in earnest, henceforth the Nigerian government will hear from us in every town, every village, every city, every community in the South and the Middle Belt. Our campaign will be swift and decisive, and nobody will be able to help Nigeria. The Fulani can never have a country where they are the second-class citizens. That is unacceptable. One, that the arrest of any Fulani man in any connection with the jihad is a crime against our Fulani collective interest. We want the Nigerian government not to make the mistake of arresting any Fulani leader or person never again. Announce our current effort in Plateau will not cease until the infidels are suppressed and the jihad installed in every part of Nigeria to the glory of our father, Uthman Danfodio. Command that no Fulani must be arrested in the connection with a powerful bomb explosion which occurred in the street of Ibadan, January 16, 2024. The bomb blast that shook all parts of the large city of Ibadan sank many houses on the street, destroyed many houses, killed 7 people, wounded 80 people. The Fulani declaration threatening, if any Fulani man be arrested, be assured that our response will be totally ruthless and immediate. Except more bombings in every public spaces across the South, Middle Belt and Abuja from the month of February 2024. Order all Fulani to take arms. We call on all our Fulani brothers to take war into the enemy territory in Plateau, Enugu, Lagos, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, Makurdi until the infidel government are brought down. Add, we call on non-Fulani people to vacate Plateau, Kaduna and Benue State if they are not ready to live under the inevitable jihad which will eventually be all over Nigeria. Second Fulani declaration of war. In this second declaration, the Fulani announced the Fulani jihad full-blown and we have no apologies. Then they added, it is like the present government wants to dare us. Let them be told that we shall burn down everything in Nigeria. We don't care. This present president is not our president. He is deceiving himself with this so-called Muslim arrangement. Who cares with a question mark? We care only about what our father Uthman Danfodio laid down, not your own religion. We are going to Asorok. Nobody will stop us. We shall take over the seat of government, which is our right. We shall direct every other operation from there. Forget the military. Are they not in our pocket? With a question mark. Are they not working for us? With a question mark. As for the Hausas, those fools know better. They either live under this jihad or perish like the realest of the unbelievers. We don't care their religion. We are burning down their mosques and churches. They are weak and they are stupid. They are present, no resistance. The Yorubas think that they have a president. Let them sleep and enjoy themselves. What we did to them in Ilorin is a child's play. They have seen what we have been able to do in the recent times to them. They are cowards and weak. The Middle Belt think they are strong, but what type of bravery without weapons? Question mark. We shall make sure they have nothing to defend themselves with. We are almost done with them. They should remember what we did in Kaduna. Though our brother, when we were in government, these are very good lands. We have no apologies, and we stated, our royal fathers are proud of us. History has bestowed on our hands to accomplish. There is no going back. Note, A, both of these declaration of war were proclaimed by a top Fulani organization named Fulani Nationalist Movement, FUNAM, and were signed by its president and the vice president, Umar Ami Shehu and Badu Salisu Amadu. B, at the time as the Fulani Nationalist Movement has been issuing their declarations of war, leading members of the Fulani traditional and political elite, the Sultan of Sokoto, emirs of Kano, former president and the vice president of Nigeria, former ministers in the Nigerian federal government, former and current members of the Nigerian National Assembly, etc., all of whom never raised a voice against President Muhammadu Buhari, egregiously misgovernment and idiocy corruption for 8 years, have been vociferously, persistently castigating President Bola Ahmed Tinubu over virtually every official action of his, threatening that their northern masses will rebel against him and threatening that the Nigerian military will sack President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government. The Fulani elite seem to be saying, in effect, that they intend to make Nigeria ungovernable for President Bola Tinubu and that they would never accept any official action of ease. Yoruba responds, we Yoruba are civilized modern people. We attach the greatest importance to citizens' respect for sanctity, integrity, dignity of public authority. We are sure that all public order and good depend on these conditions. We find it extremely difficult to continue to accept to be part of a country in which any one of the constituent people feels free to treat their country and its government as the Fulanis are treating Nigeria, the Nigerian president, the Nigerian federal government, and all government and peoples of Nigerian Federation today. We are sure that the Fulani act of terror and destructions against other Nigerian peoples are criminal act. We are sure too, that most of what the Fulani are saying in their declarations of war against President Bola Tinubu, the federal government and other government and peoples of Nigeria are serious crimes. We as people consider it is the prerogative of the Nigerian federal government to deal with criminals as it chooses, but we as a people are clearly opposed to continue to participate in a state entity in which the government seems to lack the systemic strength, the political will, and the moral confidence to treat criminals as criminals, and crimes as crimes, and criminals as criminals. We believe that a situation like that portends a horrific deepening of the already deep anarchy and economic failure of Nigeria, and that its promises to galvanize Nigeria to an all-encompassing violence and war, which will consume millions of Nigerian lives and export disaster and human suffering to the rest of West Africa. We Yoruba cannot consent any longer to being part of such an inevitable and imminent disaster. Our closing words, Your Excellency, the above plus all the matters raised by us in our letter to President Muhammadu Buhari and dated August 6, 2022, a copy of which letter we hereby respectfully attach to this letter, is the fulfillment of our respectful message to Your Excellency. Your Excellency, we Yoruba Self-Determination Movement, acting for and on behalf of the 60 million Yoruba people of Ekiti State, Lagos State, Ogun State, Ondo State, Osun State, Oyo State, plus the Yoruba local government areas of Kogi State and Kwara State, plus the Ishekiri homeland of Delta State, all together constituting the Yoruba land in Nigeria, hereby most humbly place our crowning request before Your Excellency as follows: that the Nigerian federal government shall within the next 2 months, but not later than June 15, 2024, which is 13 days from today, inform us, our Yoruba Self-Determination Movement, that the Nigerian federal government have grievously agreed to our proposal for negotiation, that they have set up a negotiation team that will meet and dialogue with our Yoruba Nation's negotiation team, that as soon as we receive the communication from the Nigerian federal government in response to this request, our negotiation team, we shall forward the list of our negotiation team to the Nigerian federal government. That the Nigerian federal government negotiation team, our negotiation team, shall meet to appoint co-chairpersons to agree on a date for the first negotiation meeting, to the negotiation venue, to the negotiation agenda and process. That the Nigerian federal government shall invite United Nations, African Union, Economic Community for West African ECOWAS states to send observers to the negotiation meetings. Your Excellency, please accept the best assurance of our highest regard and our best wishes. Yours sincerely, Professor Adebanji Akitoye, National Leader, Yoruba Self-Determination Movement, Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho, Leader, Yoruba National Defense, Otunba Ola Ademola, the Vice Chair, Yoruba Self-Determination Movement. Eléyìí ni lẹ́tà tí a kọ sí ìjọba President Bola Tinubu tó máa expire by 13 days from now. I have not been told whether there's already any communication back from the presidency. But the expectation of millions and millions of Yoruba people that are waiting that there should be a response, because President Tinubu is not a ghost. He needs to respond. But if he fails to respond, the next question many Yoruba people are asking is, what next? Kí la máa ṣe tí Tinubu ò bá respond? If the federal government of Nigeria refuse to respond, what do we do? What steps should we take? What move should we be looking into? How should we take that? Because Buhari did not respond. But we knew that Buhari, whether was going to respond or not, there was also a lot of interference that went into, as at the time when we were expecting Buhari to respond back, respond, this is what we were going to do. And we all saw what happened after Dukpo Onitiri infiltrated the movement. But this time around, we don't have any infiltration. What should we be doing? That I will leave with our leaders. But ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa, any right láti sọ ẹ̀dùn ọkàn yín, láti sọ in tí ẹ feel, and that is what is leading to that audio that I'm going to play one more time. Enter our link, Koikimedia Instagram, join the other platform. I have to close that now. Ẹ tún lọ ká jẹ́ gbọ́ this audio one more time. Our people at home are waiting patiently in the last going to 4 years that this movement will remain as it's meant to be, a non-violent. We will not go beyond what our leaders are telling us to do. But I want to béèrè pé ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń campaign fún Yorùbá nation. If Tinubu does not respond back, what do you do? The first thing I would think we should be doing is to go back with our full force rally back in every Yoruba community across the 191 local government. We should be going out. We should be sponsoring many people to create as millions and millions of leaflets with one message that àwa ìran ọmọ aládé a fẹ́ yọ kúrò nínú Nàìjíríà, a fẹ́ dá dúró nítorí pé Tinubu has only 4 years tenure. The next 4 years is not yet guaranteed. The power will be shifted back to the north. We will still be within Nigeria, even if your governors are still the one controlling the state. They will not be able to have a bigger say, especially pẹ̀lú the fraudulent. Ẹ ṣé gan ni ìyá wa, gbogbo ẹ̀yin tí ẹ ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa, ẹ tí ẹ̀yin silent watchers and around the world. Tídà tí àwọn governors wa bá ń ṣe nǹkan tó ń dùn mọ́ wa nú, giving us all the services and the things that we need, which we hope they will do, because presently they are not doing that. Wọ́n sì máa wà lábẹ́ Nàìjíríà, the north will then be able to control them. Gbogbo tí Tinubu ń ṣe lénìí, the next president also have power to take it back to however he wants it. This is what tẹ́yìn ọmọ Yorùbá láti máa pọ̀ concern. Ẹ máa wà concern about the state alone. Yes, we have Yoruba governors, we have Yoruba House of Rep, we have Yoruba Commissioner, we have Yoruba Deputy Governor. But what about the center? The center will still dominate those states. And we will not be able to cut net migration like the Labour Party is putting it as part of the agenda. That is the reason why tí brother mi tó send the audio wá láti ilé sí mi pé Mr. Koiki kí la máa ṣe, because problem mi wà nílé nísìn, and I say it is not to go out for that rally to make destruction, because even as at the time tá à ń ṣe gbogbo rally wa, it was more peaceful than they never thought. What, and I will prove it that anybody that says that a soldier, a police officer, a naval officer, any security operative was attacked and killed during the Yoruba rally across Yoruba land, I need you to give me the full evidence. Don't just say by mouth, one walk one soldier, one. I need that evidence. If I get that evidence, then I will be able to say that yes, it was truthful that happened. What we saw was that it was the same police that killed Yoruba people during the rallies. And I will start from Jumoke Oyeleke. Jumoke Oyeleke was killed 72 hours after Buhari sent Fulani Mareduas and terrorist security to go and kill Igboho in the house. Igboho escaped. 72 hours. We were in Lagos State. Jumoke Oyeleke was a petty trader. Gbogbo tó ń tà lórí bẹ́ẹ̀ kò tó 5,000 naira. He was end up killed by a straight bullet by the Lagos State Police. That was the first killing of a Yoruba person by the security operatives after they've already killed Afar and Adogon, murdered them in Igboho's house. So we were creating problem during the rally. Give me the evidence where all the rally that we created all the problems. Because I was in Nigeria in 2021, I attended all the rally, and all the messages we gave to everybody on the trailer of those rally was that nobody in tó ń ṣe Yorùbá náà tó ń ṣe wá, òun ló ń ṣe ọlọ́pàá ọmọ Yorùbá, òun ló ń ṣe ọlọ́pàá Hausa àtọmọ Igbo. Gbogbo àwọn ọlọ́pàá tí wọ́n san salary fún àtàwọn security, àwọn ọmọ wọn náà go through the same problem. That has always been the message of Igboho. So today, if anybody is coming out to say that the Yoruba people were creating mess and creating havoc throughout the rally, it is the same government of Buhari that ended up killing us in last year when we were in Ojota again, after that young boy was shot dead. So ẹ̀yin tẹ́ máa ń sọ pé there was a lot of Yoruba people that create that problem. You should give us evidence, the real evidence. Don't give me a beer parlor talk. And this is the reason why some of our youth are crying out. Let's listen to the second part of the 2 audio that was sent to me in Yoruba land by one of our very strong, respectable participants for believer of Yoruba nation.
Koiki, Ọlọ́run ṣàánú wa ni o, Koiki máa kúrò fún yóò Nàìjíríà eléyìí. Without war, solution is Nigeria. Láì sógun, tí o bá ti sógun tí o ti crisis Nigeria.
And this is what Baba Akintoye said. Let me go back, because any concerned message, they are thinking that it has to be war. But if Tinubu and his government, because Tinubu is the one in power right now for the next 3 years, if he thinks that he is not going to be interested in this discussion, Baba Akintoye warned him. And I'm going to look for that section. Baba Akintoye told him that he should not overlook what our youth could do. Taba hold one for too long and say that, oh, kò ní dogun, Ọlọ́run jẹ́ kó dogun, we do it peacefully. And they are saying that the government of Tinubu, because we have to continue to mention Tinubu because Tinubu is the one in power. If Tinubu government refuses to negotiate, mo fẹ́ kabiti Baba Akintoye sọ ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn kan, then we should prepare for problems. So I'm going to play the audio while I'm looking for that for us.
Ọdún mẹ́jọ Tinubu ìyá ni solution Nigeria dey war ogun ni o ogun o ẹbí tẹ n bẹ̀rẹ̀ mo yẹn wọ́n ìkọjá máa wọ́n àpò ìkìwé wọ́n ìkó máa wọ́n bó ṣe lè kó máa lé Nàìjíríà kó máa nígbà tó bá wọ́n tó lè dára ni wọ́n dáadáa ajáde ajáfẹ́tọ̀ wọn ajáde ajáfọ̀ráìtì wọn dára bá ní wọn dáadáa tí ó gbẹ sí lé kókókókó ẹni kan ajáde ní ìsìn àtàṣe rẹ̀ kò ṣe rà ebi tí ń pa àwọn èèyàn kan tí à ń dára wọn sí pokùnso ẹ̀gbọ́n tó máa rí rálì kan lọ́wọ́ èèyàn fẹ́ jáde tán ní o àjẹ́ ń gbọ́ ó ti sọ níbọ̀dì ọ̀rẹ́ pàátàn o ẹ̀sẹ̀ kan lè ti sọ fún mi tẹ́lẹ̀ pé Tinubu bá rí pé abẹ̀rẹ̀ ti ṣe rálì àbúrọ̀kù ló èkó yẹ á ṣe rálì pẹ̀tẹ́ àwọn ní kò ní lọ́fíṣọ̀ tó lọ pé ẹ̀rọ bí àná ọ̀rẹ́ pín nǹkan yìí ẹ̀gbọ́n àti kókò àwọn ayá yẹn pín wọ́n sọ ní wéré ìwọ́n fẹ́ ṣe rí joint kiri kan government wọ́n ṣe pèsè nǹkan yìí kóríkà kó pé nǹkan tó máa pín Koiki ó di ogun ó di wéré ẹ̀gbọ́n láìsí ogun láìsí bàjẹ́ sílẹ̀ Nàìjíríà lè separate o ẹni máa kó àpò ní àpò rí o sọ ní bọ̀dí o ẹ̀ka sọ ní wéré o àwọn kan dáṣà àwọn èèyàn o abúlé-ẹ̀sì dáṣì jẹ fọ́ta jẹ yẹ ẹ̀gbọ́n jẹ gbogbo ẹ̀ àwọn èèyàn tún jáde.
Now, that is just one out of many youth at home. And this is why Baba Akintoye is saying to Tinubu in this other discussion, Nigeria needs now the courage to dissolve peacefully. Tabani ko dissolve peacefully. Then we are preparing for the worst case scenario. And we don't want the worst case scenarios if we can avoid it. If we can avoid it, we don't need to put the pressure on humanity. We don't need to kill each other. We don't need to go into a civil war. There has already been a civil war in Nigeria before. So if this government is thinking that without a peaceful dissolution of Nigeria, they can use force, let me say it, places that have tried to use force failed. The forces did not work. It ended up coming back against that country. And this is more reason why we, the campaigners, are saying to the government, find the room. You might not agree with what we want, but find the room to put a negotiation team. I have read the statement coming out for the killings of the military in Aba by President Bola Tinubu, and I'm sure many of you have read it as well. Let me put my own a little bit input. If there has been a peaceful resolution from not today, from when Buhari wanted to kill Nnamdi Kanu while he was on bail, because Nnamdi Kanu was on bail until Python Dance was taken to his home and more than 17 innocent lives with dogs were killed. He escaped. Some of you will even be happy, because just as many of you think that you should be happy when Igboho was also going to be killed by the same Buhari in 2021, just about a few years difference, because Igboho was saying that enough of the Mariduas killing our people. He wanted to stop it, and they saw the advantage that Igboho was able to pull with the people that were concerned about the killings of their loved ones from almost every part of Yoruba land. Buhari and some of his cohorts were not supportive of that. So, the soldier will go to Aba and they will use force. Let me say it clearly. Violence might not be of the interest of anybody, but you cannot win a guerrilla warfare. The British failed to do a winning with the IRA. It was a guerrilla warfare. So it is avoidable now. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń sọ pé àwọn IPOB yẹn kọ́ dájú pẹ̀lú wọn. It will affect you yourself, because the whole economy that is already crumbling will crumble very fast, because nobody will travel into Nigeria when that becomes something that the smoke is up there. Right now, it is still within. We are not seeing the smoke as we should be seeing it. Let the government find a room to sit everybody together and decide who wants to remain Nigerians. You cannot force people to remain in a country where they don't want to be. So gbogbo ilé tí Tinubu ń kọ yẹn, remember that Tinubu was also in support of the IPOB. Evidence is out there. Just as he said, he does not believe in one Nigeria. But Onyomu padà nísìn, because he's a weaker element. Tinubu is speaking now, not on behalf of anybody. He's speaking on behalf of those that put him in power. Because Tinubu did not get to power, he also was endorsed by the North. So anytime sọ pé mo rí that ọmọ Yorùbá dípọ̀ tó wà ní UK tó jẹ́ lecturer tó ń sọ pé let them go and deal with the IPOB. Yes, let them go and deal with the IPOB, but it will be blood that will be flowing across the southeast, and it might drop back. So let us be very careful. Tinubu says, and I quote, "I have received yet another disheartening news story about the killing of 5 soldiers by suspected militants of the proscribed terrorist organization, and I stand to be corrected. I stand to be corrected. IPOB is not a terrorist organization. You might disagree with me. I need the proof. So President Tinubu should tell me what in the world, or where is he getting that information that IPOB is a terrorist organization? Any kó fún mi ní evidence yẹn, because there is no evidence that stated it by America, by the European country, that IPOB is a terrorist organization. So gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń sọ pé kọ́lọ̀ unleash havoc lé wọn lórí, ó máa affect èmi, ó máa affect ìwọ. Let us find a resolution to the dissolution of Nigeria, and that is why Baba Akintoye wrote another letter that says, and I quote, "Nigeria needs now the courage to dissolve peacefully." British had more weapons to crush the IRA. They have all the intelligence in the world to defeat them. It ended up becoming a Good Friday agreement in 1997, signed by the leader of those that wanted to stand on their own in that part of the globe, plus Bill Clinton and Tony Blair. I came to this country a year after that. So let them go and crush IPOB. You cannot defeat a spirit. IPOB is a spirit. You cannot defeat it. I am not speaking on behalf of IPOB. I am speaking as a journalist and as someone that also believes in the right that they want as well. If you don't want them, negotiate, just as the Yoruba want a negotiation. If you fail to negotiate, there will be more problem for every single one that call themselves Nigerian. It's a fact. Your family will be affected, especially your family in the southeast as well. You might as well start telling them to come back down. So moving all the military down there will not resolve the problem. It's a fact. You can live in denial. I don't care. British tried it. They failed. There is still room for negotiation. So this what Tinubu is saying, and Sofupe Kowa Bushima negotiate. That is the only way. Tinubu only have a particular years to live in this world. But life to listen. I have 60 years more to Tinubu's age. It will be gone. IPOB will still exist. Tinubu, I've given him 60 more years to his age. It will be gone. IPOB will still is a spirit. You cannot defeat anything that's a spirit. It's a fact. You might not like it. It is a fact. So, but Tinubu saying, okay, just less than another 3 years. Even the North will chuck him out. Even he himself, his life is in danger because evidence is pointing out that they want to kill Tinubu. We know that. The Northerners want to kill President Bola Tinubu. I can tell you that. They are planning everything to eliminate him. But, Nirishe, I might disagree with Bola Tinubu as the president, but he will not be killed by the Northerners so that Shetima become the president. I will not use my mouth to pray for the death of President Bola Tinubu, but evidence is pointing out that Tinubu wants to be killed by the Northerners because they are not comfortable since he became the president since 2023. So, ọ̀rọ̀ tó wà lẹ́yìn, ọ̀rọ̀ tó máa di best, but for now, let's find room for negotiation. Ẹ̀yin Yorùbá tẹ̀ ní kọ́lọ̀ crush wọn. Well, let them go and crush it and let us see how that would happen. Ẹ jẹ́ kọ́lọ̀ crush wọn. Biafra fought for 3 years. They were fighting multiple countries. They were not just fighting Nigeria. They were fighting British. They were fighting countries that were supporting Nigeria. We are no longer in 1960. I am not the spokesman for the Biafra. I am just warning ahead. This video will be on record that I came out and spoke that there can be room for negotiation as a campaigner for self-determination. Emma Sokwe they play. It will affect you. It will affect me when that time comes. So we're going to move straight forward to our own next discussion. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. It's a Sunday afternoon broadcast. And as you can see, it is getting very warm inside here. Mokia mommy for tolerating a lot of my noise in the house. It is not easy seeing their father going through this. I should not. I live. Look, my children are having their lunch. But many Yoruba people do not have the same means like my children. I am not fighting because of you alone. I am fighting for their future just as you should be fighting for your future of your children and the children unborn. They might be living in UK, but they will prefer one day to go back to Djibouti. They will prefer to go and live in Ondo State. But don't expect these children for me to send them to Ondo State when Ondo State does not have everything it takes to protect them. Àwọn tó wà níbẹ̀, Ọlọ́run la fi ń bẹ̀ wọ́n. Nigeria needs the courage to dissolve. I will read this quickly as much as I can. Today is all about the warning. Because Tinubu is giving warning. I am also just saying, I am not giving warning. I am just saying there's a room for peaceful dissolution. It can be sorted out without a bullet. Bullet cannot win the war. You cannot defeat them. Yes, there will be a lot of bloodshed. It can be avoided. 5 million of their people were killed during that Gowan war, the civil war. Nobody has apologized to them up to date. They are angry. They are bitter. They are upset. You can have dialogue with them. And like Inam Bekano says, and I quote, give me a referendum. If my people say they want to be in Nigeria, I would drop my Biafra campaign. Emma Sokwe, they play. I am 3,000 miles away, but I will not sit here when it all happened. This is one bag I will be flying down with as a journalist to cover that event when it happened. At independence in 1960, Nigeria was truly the economic giant and the hope of Africa. Nigeria was 25% of the population of Black Africa. One of the regions, the Nigeria Federation, Western region, had mostly intensely educated population in Africa. Nigeria therefore had the largest, most solid class of educated professionals in Africa. By the time of independence, Nigeria ranked as one of the world's largest exporter of cocoa from Western region, palm product from Eastern region, groundnut from Northern region. Of minerals, Nigeria was an exporter of tin mine on the Jos Plateau, coal mine on Udi Hill near Enugu. Every region of Nigeria had rich deposit of minerals. The Western region had the largest deposit of bitumen in the world. The Northern region had the deposit of uranium. Nigeria was known to have a rich deposit of petroleum by 1970s. Nigeria became one of the leading producers and exporters of the petroleum in the world, earning phenomenal revenues that made Nigeria one of the world's richest countries. Altogether, Nigeria seemed to be heading to success, wealth, prosperity, and power. Unhappily, however, Nigeria lacked the inner unity and strength needed for such greatness. The hundreds of people of Nigeria pushed together in 1914 by the British were radically different in culture, political traditions, religion, attitude to religious diversity and attitude to modern change. Until after the Second World War, the British did nothing to give Nigeria a unified existence. When at last they granted a unifying constitution in 1949-1951 and created under it a federation of 3 regions, Eastern, Northern, and Western regions, they boldly wrote conflict and instability into the life of the federation by disrespecting, obviously, ethnic boundaries in the designation of the region's boundaries by making the northern region much larger than the eastern and the western region together, by giving the northern region a decisive majority in the federal parliament, and by generally creating the impression that northern region was destined to lead the federation. The regions did well for their peoples, with the western region as the development leader and a pace setter. But rancor and hatred, unhealthy rivalry marked their relations. Then, to ensure Britain continued control of the Nigerian economy after independence, the British maneuvered in great detail, falsified the national census, installed a stumbling block in the constitution, rigged the pre-independent election, heavily influenced the post-election inter-party negotiations to give dominances to the Fulani leadership of the northern region over Nigerian federal government at independence. By doing these things, the British essentially placed a death sentence on Nigeria. The Fulani were one of Nigeria's smallest peoples. About 6 million in northern region were a non-indigenous people, had no homeland in Nigeria or anywhere, were part of a Fulani people scattered all over the West Africa, consisted mostly of a nomadic cattle herders, were the least educated people in Nigeria and the least delirious of modern education. They were the least capable of leading a modern country along a modern lines, lacking an understanding of the nature of a modern country. The Fulani decided immediately at independence that they were the meant to be the new colonial overlords of Nigeria. Nigeria's sad journey thus began through endless falsification, manipulations of political process, falsifications of census, destructions of the federation through centralization of all power and resources control, destruction of the regional government. Local initiatives in the economy attempt to suppress Western education, prohibition of teaching of history in Nigerian school, to rob the indigenous peoples the knowledge of their history, rancor, acrimony, bluntly rigged and violently protested elections, interpeople conflict, pogroms, civil war, religious violence. Fulani use of military force for an attempt to conquer all of Nigerian indigenous people, serious economic decline. Fulani invitation to other Western African Fulani to come and help conquer Nigeria's indigenous peoples. Fulani attraction of international terrorist group to help Fulani conquest, a destructive push to turn Nigeria to a Muslim country by violent, vicious insecurity, rivers of blood, economic collapse to the now inevitable break-up. The earliest Fulani adventure to extend their control over all of Nigerian future, a serious plot started even before independence and covertly assisted by British to use federal power to crush the Western region, Nigeria's leader and pace setter in development. Because the Western region was strong and wanted a true independence for Nigeria, they plotted finally hatchet in 1962 to 1965, destroyed the Western regions and Nigerian development progress, but then it dragged down Nigerian security and provoked the first military coup in 1966. From then on, there followed a long succession of military coups and military dictatorship until 1999, with only a brief civilian interlude in 1979 to 1983. The military dictators recklessly destroyed the federal principle in favor of centralization. The military dictators from July 1966, on being all northerners, pushed further and further centralization and northern Fulani dominances. This provoked resistance and bloody conflict pogroms and had attempted by the Igbo-led Eastern region to succeed from Nigeria in 1967. The attempt started a 30-month civil war from 1967 to 1970, which took about 5 million lives among the Igbo people. As if to wipe up this self-imposed disaster, mineral oil began in the early 1970s to boost Nigeria's economic strength by making phenomenal amount of money available to Nigerian development. Nigerian prospects were so rosy by the late 1970s that some patriotic Nigeria embarked on putting together a dazzling program of development for Nigeria. Some of the youthful intellectuals in this group even believed that they could make Nigeria the black man world power of modern times. But Nigeria lacked the unity, the cohesiveness, and the orderly political and economic life necessary for such great accomplishments. A manipulated election in 1979 and another that was bluntly rigged and violently protested in 1983 shut down those who were proudly talking of making Nigeria the black man's world power. Another military coup came in December 1983, led by another northern military officer. From then on, rather than grow in prosperity and power, Nigeria entered into a process of truculent Fulani grabbing of control, of unrelenting centralization of political power, resources control and development, management, and the most rabid culture of public corruption in the world. The northern Fulani control became so total that one of the military dictators felt free in 1993 to annul a completed and a peaceful presidential election without giving any reason for his action, and another felt free to arrest and imprison the winner of the election and then to institute a murderous reign of terror to stop popular reaction. And yet another unilaterally imposed a constitution on Nigeria by Decree 1999. The Nigerian culture of impunity, public corruption has grown so mightily since then that it has earned Nigeria year after year the assessment as the most corrupt country in the world. Since 2018, Nigeria has been classified as the #1 home of extreme poverty in the world. The succeeding northern military dictator from 1985 to 1999, serving the purposes of centralization of the Fulani control of power and resources, ran down their system irremediably. In spite of Nigeria hundreds of nationalities, Nigeria lost federalist direction and became simply a country under complete control of a central government, family control by the mostly illiterate Fulani nationality. Nigerian central government became an instrument for managing not Nigerian development, but for managing Nigeria's titanic and complex culture of public corruption. In the end, the Nigerian Fulani political elite, intoxicated by all this great success of theirs in their politics of Nigeria by continued covert British support, embark upon a pre-modern, primitive ambition to employ violence to conquer all other nations of Nigeria and turn their homeland into a large Fulani homeland. The outside world, lacking an understanding of this bizarre political turn in Nigeria, wrongly saw it as a development arising simply from the political turn in Nigeria, wrongly saw it as a development arising simply from climate change, from the coming of the prolonged drought in the West African Sahel and Sudan from the 90s, and consequently veering of Fulani cattle herders southward into the forest territories in search of grass for their cattle, and therefore intensified conflict between farmers and the cattle herders in Nigeria. But that is not the true explanation of what has been happening in Nigeria. The drought did force cattle herders to veer south in all countries of West Africa. But what happened in Nigeria did not happen in any other country of West Africa. What happened in Nigeria is that, to repeat the small Fulani political elite, enormously emboldened by their great success in the politics of Nigeria, by continued British covert support, decided to turn the masses of distressed Fulani cattle herders into a mass army for conquering the homeland of all the peoples of Nigeria for a Fulani homeland. As soon as the Fulani leader, Muhammadu Buhari, was elected president of Nigeria in 2015, the Fulani seriously commenced their planned conquest of Nigeria. For the next 8 years under President Muhammadu Buhari, Fulani cattle herders and militias, indoctrinating with the message that Allah had given the whole of Nigeria to the Fulani for the Fulani homeland, and heavily armed with sophisticated modern weapons, mostly AK-47 rifles, spread out all over the south and the middle belt of Nigeria, destroying or burning farms, farmsteads, villages, uprooting and destroying root crops, burning tree crops, killing farmers and farmers' wives and children, wiping out the inhabitants of a whole village, raping and killing women, killing children on the way to and from school, kidnapping countless people, extorting enormous amount of money as ransom for the kidnap. President Muhammadu Buhari administration never said a word against this Fulani outrage. The federal agent, police, military, secret service mostly ignore the widespread cries of agony and death. It inevitably became obvious to all harassed Nigerians that the government had ordered its employees not to interfere with the Fulani killers and destroyers, that Muhammadu Buhari's presidency was covertly assisting the Fulani conquest. There is no official estimate of Nigerians killed by Fulani in Buhari years because the government had no interest in such, but according to an unofficial estimate, as many as 29,000 Yoruba people were killed by the Fulani in the Muhammadu Buhari years, because the government, 29,000 Yoruba people were killed in the Yoruba homeland. Mostly Yoruba farmers have abandoned farming altogether, and traditionally Yoruba agricultural economy has been destroyed. As President Bola Tinubu was being sworn in on May 29, 2023 to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari, greatly confident armies of Fulani destroyers and killers were waiting for him. They were sitting on the enormous amount of Nigerians' money that had been stolen in recent years for the Fulani war of conquest, and their own enormous arsenals of various weapons, countless thousands of Fulani killers and international terrorists. They immediately heightening the tempo and viciousness of their killings and kidnapping. In January 2024, they publicly declared war against President Tinubu himself and threatened to invade the president's office and invade the power. So what I've just read is the part 1 of the courage for Nigeria to be dissolved peacefully. That gave us a background. Ó fún wa ní gbogbo tó yẹ ká mọ̀ nípa ìrìn àjò tí Buhari ṣe lórí ilẹ̀ wa. So fún àpẹẹrẹ fẹ́yìn tẹ́ máa ń sọ pé a fẹ́ Yorùbá nation, a kò fẹ́ kí Nàìjíríà kó máa dá wà, but ká máa manage from their fears of Tinubu right now as the president, but from their fears of also our governors. Yes, our governors are Yorubas. There's no doubt about that. Omo Yoruba ni won. There's nothing wrong to have governors that are representing us, whether we like it or not, whether they are serving us fully, because we know that they are not serving us fully. But in the long run, after Tinubu government, we will not have a Yoruba man representing us in the center. We will have somebody that does not look like me, that has a different hidden agenda. All you need to look closely and as psychology into the eyes of Shettima. Shettima sat closely, ate with the Fulani terrorists that they were looking for. They've said that all these happenings in the north today is something that was created by them. And if they were creating that, why not allow them to stay in the north? Now they are flooding down, but the whole agenda is not because of today. It's because that is what their forefathers have told them. And they are working on behalf of the British. The British cannot tell us lies. If the British is very serious, let them come back and sit everybody on that Lancaster House, which is about 1 hour away from my house, and let us revisit that 1914 amalgamation. Let's start with that. Do we still want to have that 1914 amalgamation? That can then be thrown to every Nigerian, all the indigenous people known as Nigeria, because the Nigeria that you are calling yourself today, you can see that if Tinubu can revert back to the same colonial anthem, we can also revisit the 1914 amalgamation. So I expect Tinubu not to be coming with the threat with the IPOB. You will not defeat them. It will be messy, it will be bloodshed, and I'll be explaining that in the part 2 of Nigeria now needs to dissolve peacefully. If Tinubu is saying that the slain soldiers that were killed, I might not be in support of people killing the soldiers, but what we need to understand is something was leading to something. The same soldiers was using to be killing innocent Nigerians. And I'll take you back to 2020 and SARS. Tinubu was not a president yet, but he was asked, Bonnie, there is no way the soldier will have left their barracks in Lagos State and headed straight into the Lekki toll gate and opened fire. Do you now know that what they have done now is they have told you, and you Nigerians, and this is for you, okay? I have been told not to curse anymore. And I'm still trying to hold that as much as I can. But what you need to understand is Tinubu has just proven to you that you are all as nobody. Because what he has done now is, it was the old anthem that you were reciting that they were used to kill you. That old anthem is no longer valid. They have revisited the old, well, I mean, whether it's old now, but they've revisited, I would just say, they've revisited the one that the colonial rulers that were controlling Nigeria created. Do you even know that it was not a Nigerian, even though we are not Nigerian, it is not even a Nigerian that wrote that national anthem. I pity a lot of you that are working towards a new Nigeria. There will never be a new Nigeria. The Yoruba wants to pull out. So if Tinubu can visit the old, let me not use the old, the anthem that the British created and forced on us in whatever year that was, let them visit the 1914 amalgamation. Let Tinubu visit it. Why are they scared? Why is our representative scared? Why are they scared for us to revisit that 1914 amalgamation? Because that is the genesis of the problem. So Tinubu saw, Buhari said more than enough. Oh yes, there were many people that were killed in the southeast. I don't have the numbers. I know that estimated, we have 29,000 Yoruba people were killed. But during Buhari regime, only God knows how many people were killed in the southeast. And let me say this clearly. I am not speaking on behalf of the Biafra. They have the right to defend themselves. You will not win that war. You might have the air power. You might have everything. As Tinubu says, that the soldiers or the military can come heavily. And I'm quoting what he says. The federal government will come down heavily against those who have made it habit to needlessly attack officers and men of our armed forces. Tinubu, you were there when they were killing the innocent Nigerians in Lekki toll gate. You looked away. You even run away with your private jet. Your private jet was running straight to France. After everything settled down, you came back. Today, you are not the president. you can do the right thing and the needful, and your name will go into the record and history. If you decide that you care less and nothing is going to happen, much more can happen within the next 3 years. I foresee trouble coming. I hope we can stop it. But if anybody say there's no trouble coming in Nigeria, well, I would say there's trouble with your gas price, with your petrol price, with the economic collapse, with more jobs. And you know you're expecting something else, right? No, I won't go through that line. Those troubles are not going away. Your price for your foodstuff will go up. It's not going to come down because the Fulani will continue to eat your crops with their cows. The economy is not going to bounce back. Those that are holding you to bondage will make more money. Those elites that are in control of Nigeria will make more money while you will struggle. And at that time, you will ask for the right of whether self-determination or the other way around. So let's go through the part 2. This program, I don't want it to be more than 2 hours, and I've done 1 hour, 40 minutes. So let's push this one quickly as well. Summary, part 2. As these words have been written in the late February 2024, Nigerian economy has collapsed. Nigerian security has collapsed. Nigerians are living a life of wretched poverty and hunger, a life of fretful insecurity and chaos. Important roads have dilapidated for years. Electricity supply has been fizzling out for years. For decades, businesses have been fleeing to other countries. Go and check those that are doing diapers. They've been in Nigeria for 14 years. They've ended that business and they're closing down in Ikorodu. Nigeria's unemployment rate has for decades been among the highest in the world. For decades, the quality of education has been falling seriously in all parts of Nigeria. For decades, thousands of Nigerian youth have been fleeing annually to countries around the world. And those of them who remain in Nigeria have been facing fearful poverty and deprivation, hopelessness, and the incidence of suicide has been increasing among them. Though Nigeria is one of the largest producers of petroleum in the world, Nigeria has depended on imported gasoline and has left its own refineries in disrepair. And the price of gasoline has been rising steadily in Nigeria for years. In the past month, the gasoline price has jumped at 700 naira per litre, beyond the reach of most Nigeria auto owners. Important orders of the economy of the knowledge, as the former governor of the central bank, Soludo, the minister of finance, Wale Edun, and Nuru Ribadu, national security advisor, are telling the world that the Nigerian economy has collapsed before President Tinubu took over from President Muhammadu Buhari, that Tinubu inherited a bankrupt currency. Therefore, the value of the Nigerian currency, the naira, stand at 465 to the US dollar by June 2023. Now it stands at about 1,500 because it's dropped down from 2,000 to the US dollar, and it's still falling, causing inflation to skyrocket. Inflation has gone up to about 42%. That one has increased. The pushing and the price of the food staples beyond the reach of most citizens. For instance, the bag of rice is 80,000 naira, which many cannot afford because their salary is not up to that. And that is why tomorrow, the Nigerian Labour Congress that I don't trust told you that indefinite strike comes up from tomorrow. Families are keeping their children away from school. Terrible hunger has gripped the lives of many Nigerians. Before sending to school, because the fear that the children might be kidnapped or killed, we saw so many of that. A former Nigerian senator, Shehu, told the North, recently offered the information that 10,000 schools have closed down in the North due to the insecurity. An international group, International Civil Society Organization, says that the first 8 months, and I'll add that because I have a better number based on the new statistics. In the last 10 months, 9,401 persons have been killed by terrorists, not for hunger, not because of your lack of education, healthcare, due to the fact of insecurity alone. Close to 9,000. That's average about almost 700 every month. The number is still increasing, as we know. Also, in all the regions, huge numbers of people are crying, especially the Yorubas. They are cursing Tinubu on a daily basis. You can only go to the bank and find out yourself. They are saying that they are going to come out naked. The students of the Nigerian University, Nigerian Powerful Labor Union, and others are now also announcing imminent strike. And tomorrow, the Nigerian Labour Congress on the 3rd have asked every workers, private, government, to come out because there will be no job, because salaries need to be increased. If your senators are criminals, earning so much money, more than all the senators around the world, maybe this is the time for them to revisit the 1914 amalgamation. Also, the most eminent Fulani leaders and traditional rulers of the North have warned Tinubu that we will release our people and they will come out. They didn't do that when Buhari was there. Many are now threatening that the military takeover might even happen. And as I say, Tinubu should bring back some of the military barracks that has all the weapons. Put some in Ibadan, put some in Lagos, take them back from the north, spread it across equally, because coup is very, very imminent. Babangida still wants power indirectly. Gowon still wants power. Tinubu, they want to kill you. I can tell you that, whether you disagree with me or not. Even those that are spiritually are saying it, that they want to kill you. They will not be able to, but you must prevent that the coup that will happen. Bring some of the weapons, the fighter jet, pack it in Ibadan, pack it in all the barracks across the southwest. So when they start a coup, you will have the firepower to fight them back. It's a warning. And I hope those of you that know Tinubu will pass that message to him. Also, many respectable leader elders in different parts of Nigeria are now proposing that Nigeria should be dissolved. I saw Iwanyanwu spoke on Channels television that what has Nnamdi Kanu done, that you have now released Miyetti Allah leader. You have released the criminal police guy, what's his name, that just got released yesterday, because Buhari did not want him to be extradited to America because of the Hush Puppy case. So the phantom that he was involved in drugs. And you can see Abba Kyari is now in his family's home, and it looks even much well kept than most of you Nigerians that look like you have been sick for a very long time. Now, spokesperson for the Yoruba people, the Igbo, and now surprisingly the Hausa people, the three largest nationalities, are now saying that we want self-determination for their respective nations and a peaceful separation from Nigeria. The Hausa used to be regarded as a subservient to the Fulani, like Ganduje. Ganduje is a Fulani man, and he control. You can see the mess he created because Fulani Ganduje. That is why I don't care about what happened with their emirs, that's their problem. But you can see the mess that Ganduje created in the north. He is now the current APC chairman. The Minister for State Budget and Planning, Atiku Bagudu Abubakar, another criminal that was part of those that moved billions of dollars on behalf of Abacha. Tinubu is now even using him to steal more money in that position. I pity a lot of you. If three regions, the majority are saying that we don't want to be part of Nigeria, that should be respected. Naturally, most people protest through today, see President Tinubu as the cause of all the economic woes. It has been there even when PDP were there for 16 years. President Tinubu believes he can heal the Nigerian economy. He's wasting his time. Healing is for the sick, not for the dead. Nigeria is a dead country like the Titanic. You can see that those that wanted to exploit Titanic, may their soul rest in peace. They died trying to. I will not say that you would die trying to fix Nigeria, but you will get caught up and your life will be miserable. Even if President Tinubu, by all resolutions, try to bring the economy back, as soon as Tinubu leaves power, the North takes power, everything will go the other way round. Well, it is for President Tinubu's responsibility for the next step for Nigeria. Tinubu don't need what it takes. Rhetoric tones. He needs to speak like a father to every Nigerians that are disagree and those that agree, and let us find a solution to those that wants to go and those that doesn't want to go. So this goes to Tinubu. The man who bears the ultimate responsibility for the next step for Nigeria beyond this point is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He has two choices. The two choices will be read for him to take which one he wants. The first one, he can choose to go maneuvering, trying on and on. I'm fixing Nigeria. I'm keeping Nigeria. Well, until Nigeria explode in rivers of blood. pray that it doesn't happen. I am praying as well. But if Tinubu, because he's still in government, thinks that it can crush the self-determination campaigners, there will be streams of blood. There is a lot of prophecies that that is going to happen. It can be reversed if we pray. Not pray to keep Nigeria together, but pray that things can be done through the peaceful means. If you don't go through the peaceful means, we should all go and prepare for the streams of blood or rivers of blood. That happened before. History should not repeat itself, but adamant of people allow history to come back. Tinubu has to play the history because Nigeria will still dissolve, and Tinubu will probably live for another 60 years, but Nigeria will be gone. Even while he's alive, Nigeria will still be dissolved. Or Tinubu can end up in the International Criminal Court for crime against humanity. Who? One of the powerful leaders of Yugoslavia, Slobodan Milosevic, in 1989/1990, when Yugoslavia was one country, but obviously come to an end. The end of Nigeria has come, but you might not know because you are just going through your normal daily activities. But those that can see that the end of Nigeria has come, even Tinubu knows that. He said it in 2007 or whenever he was outside the country. I don't know. I mean, probably when he was during the exile, when Abacha wanted to kill him. To Sakuro. He said, I don't believe in one Nigeria. But he's now trying to say that he will fix Nigeria and he will crush the Biafra. Well, I wish him, or the IPOP, I wish him all the best. Okay? I will be watching from far away or I might be closer, depending on what I decide. So Yugoslavia president then, a powerful leader, said that he was not going to allow Yugoslavia to come to an end. But obviously, it was already ended. Slobodan Milosevic chose to continue to keep Yugoslavia together at all costs, by all means, and he did so until massive rivers of blood flowed countlessly. Thousands of people were perished until the true final asset itself that Yugoslavia needed to dissolve. Until Yugoslavia dissolved into 8 different countries. Until Milosevic himself ended up an international criminal tribunal charged with serious crimes against humanity until he died a lonely and wretched death in the tribunal prison. I do not pray for such for Tinubu, but it's entirely up to him to decide where and what he wants. But in contrast, there was another one that was very peaceful, and Tinubu can go through that route. That's why I said history will remember Tinubu which one to that favor. They tell me, say they play, that you are far away, nothing can happen. Well, it's very close, okay? It's just round the corner. But in contrast, President Tinubu can do as Mikhail Gorbachev. Who is Mikhail Gorbachev? He was the president of the Soviet Union from 1985 to 1991. In 1990, when the great Soviet Union had obviously come to an end, the end of today, just like the end of Nigeria has come, he decided that the best option was to humbly surrender to the truth that the end had come for Soviet Union, and he was therefore able to shepherd his country into a peaceful dissolution, thereby preempting a massive and devastating war that would probably have consumed millions of lives. That option is available for President Bola Tinubu. It's entirely up to him to take that option. But eléyìí tó ń sọ pé the fact that security forces are exercising necessary restraint. They are not exercising necessary restraint. We have seen how they've killed and continue to kill innocent Nigerians. When attack should not be mistaken for weakness, I pray Tinubu listen. Ẹ̀yin ọmọ Yorùbá tẹ́ ń sọ pé go and crush IPOB. Let me say this again. British could not crush IRA. Some of you are living in that country today now, especially Yoruba people. But because mọ́tò ṣẹlẹ̀ níbẹ̀, when they were fighting the war in IRA, you dare not even go there. But now that they've created peace, they've been able to have an independent country. Some of Yoruba people and some of the Igbos that believe in Nigeria and Hausa people and the rest, some of you were running away from England to go and give back to your children because they were giving them papers. Maybe the next future will be Biafra, where you can get papers that will save your life instead of traveling abroad. Think about that. So it's entirely up to Tinubu. So while considering this option, President Tinubu needs to be aware of the following important fact: that separation of people from country of diverse peoples, or dissolution of country of diverse people into smaller countries, if accomplished peacefully, is not a tragedy. It needs to browse the history of some of the countries that separated peacefully, and it will find stories of subsequent prosperity in all cases. Àwọn ìlú tó lọ peacefully, country like Belgium, which separated from Holland in 1830. You can see the tranquility in Belgium today. Belgian chocolate. Norway, a very Icelandic place. Denmark, Sweden, and Iceland, which separated different times over the long time. The Republic of Ireland, which separated from Britain in 1921. Kò tí pẹ́ o, 1914 lọ́mọ agamani Nigeria. Singapore, most of you will pray to visit Singapore in your lifetime. You will see that the peaceful separation from Malaysia in 1965, the 14 countries which arose the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the Czech and the Slovak Republic, which separated in 1993, East Timor, which separated from Indonesia in 2000. But if Tinubu say na violent it go take happen, it will still be much problem, but it might also mean that Nigeria will still break. Some of those countries that separated violently tend to be dodgy by violent afterward. Countries like Pakistan, which separated in a storm of violence from India in 1947. South Sudan, which separated from the years of violence from Sudan in 2011. And some of the 8 countries that resulted from the violent dissolution of Yugoslavia. What can a peaceful negotiated departure of any nation that seeks to separate from Nigeria, or a peaceful negotiated dissolution of Nigeria, give to humanity? Question mark. Nigerian people are now trapped in Nigerian space that is churning in an abominable cause of utter darkness, unspeakable poverty, hunger, hatred, hostility, mass murder. May the soul of the 2 young girls that were murdered for organ harvesting in Aba as they were traveling from Port Harcourt to visit a man. The man, we were told, was killed. We know that I don't know what they've arrested him. They were taking him to Abuja, but we know the end because there are so many people that are into organ harvest. Some of them are watching me like this. Criminals doesn't want Nigeria to break, so they want us to live in that kind of society. Whether you like it or not, Nigeria has come to its end. And lágbára Jésù Kristi, in Jesus' name, in all the almighty names of the gods of the Biafra, the Arewa, the Ijaw, all the people that have been put together, Nigeria will finally fade away. That is the Sunday broadcast, and happy Sunday to you all. We meet during the week as we now go to the next section of what Baba Kitoye said I should use as a good news, path to prosperity in Orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá. From next week, for another week again, the next one we're going to be discussing will be, we shall revive and strengthen our education. Not the one that Buhari shut down the education for good 9 months. Some of you got pregnant, and even some of you could not deliver. You died along the road because there was no adequate education in the healthcare sector for the nurses to know that when you are pregnant, they should look after you. And my name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. Happy Sunday. Iṣẹ́ wa fúnlẹ̀ wa, forílẹ̀ ibi wa, kàgbéga, kàgbéga, kàgbéga falérí. Ìgbàgbọ́ wa ni pé bá ti bẹ̀rù la bọ́ mọ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká jọlá. Ìṣọ̀kan àtòmìnira ní kẹjẹ́ ká máa lépa. Ìtẹ̀síwájú fọ̀pọ̀ ire àtòhun tó dára. Ìtẹ̀síwájú fọ̀pọ̀ ire àtòhun tó dára ọmọ Oòduà dìde bọ́ sípò ẹ̀tọ́ rẹ ìwọ ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ ògo adúláwọ̀. Mo kí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá nílé lóko. Thank you so much. I will not mention all the names on the thread, but I say shout out to you all. I am OLAYOMI KOIKI. I am your last man standing. Bye for now.